But if the Holy Land was so English, why, quite apart from their political aims, should devout believers like Balfour and Lloyd George hand this holiest of Christian sites to the Jews? Quite simply, they believed the Bible decreed it. With Jerusalem already secured, Allenby fought the final victorious battle of his Palestine campaign, here on the plain of Esdraelon. As a student of military history and a devout Christian, he would have known that the Bible prophesies this place as the future setting for the greatest battle of them all. Armageddon.
Where's that word Armageddon come from?
Today, many visitors to the religious sites of the Holy Land are Christian Zionists, Christians who believe in the biblical prophecy of Christ's reappearance as the Battle of Armageddon is being fought.
The Bible says that the Lord will supernaturally return from heaven and that he will fight for Israel.
But Christ's reappearance depends on the fulfillment of one essential condition. First, the Jews have to return to their homeland. In early 20th century Britain, Balfour and Lloyd George were part of this same religious tradition. They too had been steeped in Zionism and believed in the biblical prophecy of the Jews' homecoming. Lloyd George spoke candidly about the Balfour Declaration's origins.
As you might remember, we've been trained even more in Hebrew history than the history of our own country. On Sunday in our Sunday schools, we were thoroughly versed in the history of the Hebrews. We had all that in our minds, so that the appeal came to sympathetic and educated and, on that question, intelligent hearts.
Through Jesus Christ our Lord.
For Lloyd George, Balfour and others, Sunday school faith and an understanding of biblical prophecy mixed seamlessly with political necessity.
For Lloyd George, the sense of closure, the sense of poetic justice in a way, the idea that the Jews could once again be restored here, this was crucial to the declaration. Of course, there were all these strategic, political, even commercial interests, but the religious question was always there in the background.
People like Balfour and others in the government at that time believed, wholeheartedly that this country belongs to the Jews. They thought that the Zionists could help them more in some places than the Arabs.
From military conquerors to colonial masters, the British would now govern Palestine as keepers of this version of religious history and encourage the Jews to return home. If this meant ignoring the nationalist ambitions of Palestinian Arabs, so be it. In stark contrast to the earlier guarantees of Arab independence brokered by Lawrence, Balfour made the British agenda crystal clear.
In Palestine, we do not propose even to go through the form of consulting the wishes of the present inhabitants of the country. Zionism, be it right or wrong, good or bad, is rooted in age-long traditions, in present needs, in future hopes, of far profounder import than the desires and prejudices of 700,000 Arabs who now inhabit that ancient land.
Here you have these people who are professors in Cambridge and in Oxford and at the Sorbonne, and they didn't know any Arabs. They haven't, you know, as far as they were concerned, they were more or less savages who were living in the desert.
A Jewish state would exist in name only unless there were more Jews and more land for them. The British recognized this and encouraged the Zionist movement to speed up immigration and the new settlers to buy land from the Arabs. During the second decade of British rule, more than 250,000 Jews settled in Palestine. The British pretended, and some believed, that the establishment of a national home for the Jews could happen without hurting the Arabs. But of course, how could it?
And there were many options for the British. They didn't choose the right ones. And maybe it's easier for me to say it in hindsight, but there were options they didn't choose. And these options would have undoubtedly benefited the indigenous population of Palestine and would have disadvantaged the Jewish community. But they haven't taken these decisions. They took decisions that basically benefited the Zionist project and proved to be catastrophic.
The British did good things in Palestine. They built roads and schools and developed a modern economy. But once they had declared their support for a Jewish state and at the same time promised to protect Arab rights, they were passengers in a car crash.
I think they trapped themselves into this conflict. They put themselves in the middle when they promised one side something and they promised the other side something which is contradicting. And then whenever they tried to balance one step that they made, then the other side will be angry and vice versa.
With Arabs outnumbering Jews by 10 to 1 in Palestine, the implementation of the Balfour Declaration would inevitably mean the displacement of many thousands of Arab families. This would create a lasting desire for revenge. These men are members of the Palestinian militia, the Al-Aqsa Martyrs Brigade. Their leader, Zakaria Zubeidi, heads Israel's most wanted list.
وعد بالفور هو وعد الدمار للشعب الفلسطيني. وعد بالفور. وعد بالفور وعد الإسرائيلية بإقامة الدولة الفلسطينية، بإقامة الدولة الإسرائيلية على أرض لم يمتلك لا ما كانتش ملك للبريطان ولا ملك للأوروبيين. وعد بالفور سطو على شعب فلسطيني على أراضي فلسطينية وطرد فلسطينيين من أرضهم واستيطان إسرائيليين مكانهم. كل قضية الشعب الفلسطيني بده يتحمل مسؤوليتها، بده يتحمل مسؤوليتها البريطان.
Why are the Palestinians dehumanized? Why have they become the naughty boy of the world? Why are the Palestinians in camps? In Lebanon, in Syria, in Jordan, in Iraq, in Egypt. Okay, why are they in camps? Because of the Balfour Declaration.